August 5, 1963, in the grand halls of the Kremlin in Moscow, a historic gathering took place that would offer a sigh of relief to a terrified world. Just less than a year prior, humanity had stood on the absolute precipice of annihilation during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The world had looked into the abyss of total thermonuclear destruction, and both superpowers had blinked. Realizing the sheer madness of unmonitored escalation, the United States, the Soviet Union, and Great Britain came together to sign the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, or PTBT. This was not just another bureaucratic agreement. It was the first monumental collective step toward putting a leash on the runaway nuclear arms race. The treaty established strict global boundaries, completely prohibiting any nuclear weapon test explosions or any other nuclear explosions in the atmosphere, in outer space, and underwater. As the ink dried on the document, a new era of cautious de-escalation began. The world's most formidable empires had finally agreed that the unchecked poisoning and militarization of our planet's shared environments had to stop, fundamentally shifting the trajectory of Cold War diplomacy.
Truly understand what drove these bitter geopolitical rivals to the negotiation table, we have to look beyond the political chessboards and analyze the mounting scientific and public pressure of the era. Throughout the 1950s and early 1960s, nuclear testing was rampant. Giant mushroom clouds frequently breached the skies over remote deserts and Pacific atolls, sending millions of tons of radioactive debris high into the atmosphere. By the early 1960s, global anxiety over radioactive fallout had reached a fever pitch. Scientists began discovering alarming traces of strontium-90, a radioactive isotope produced by nuclear bursts, in the baby teeth of children and in the commercial milk supply thousands of miles away from the detonation sites. It became terrifyingly clear that nuclear tests were not isolated military events. They were an immediate, invisible environmental toxin poisoning the global population. Grassroots peace movements, mothers' coalitions, and prominent international scientists united in protest. They raised their voices against the invisible rain of radiation, forcing a growing realization among world leaders that uncontrolled nuclear testing posed an imminent existential threat to all of humanity. The shadow of fallout had turned the arms race from a distant geopolitical game into an intimate domestic crisis for families worldwide.
The signing of the PTBT was a monumental triumph for environmental health, but it was equally an extraordinary victory for back-channel human diplomacy. Crafting this treaty required overcoming immense psychological hurdles and deep-seated paranoia between Washington and Moscow. For years, negotiations had stalled over the complex issue of verification. The United States demanded intrusive, on-site inspections to ensure the Soviets weren't secretly testing weapons, while the Kremlin viewed such demands as a front for Western espionage. The breakthrough came when both sides agreed to simplify the treaty. They would leave underground testing out of the agreement for the time being, as underground detonations were incredibly difficult to monitor from afar without on-site visits. However, tests in the sky, in space, and at sea could easily be detected using existing satellite and atmospheric technologies. This compromise allowed U.S. President John F. Kennedy, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, and British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan to bypass the diplomatic deadlock. The PTBT became a vital, active communication channel between the two superpowers. It proved that even the most ideologically opposed enemies could find common ground to prevent future total-scale nuclear confrontations, establishing a framework of mutual restraint where threats had once ruled. Decades later, historians and political scientists view the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty as the foundational bedrock of modern nuclear arms control. While it did not end the Cold War overnight, and underground testing unfortunately continued to accelerate, the PTBT permanently broke the dangerous spell of unrestricted nuclear expansion. By establishing the precedent that international law could successfully regulate nuclear arsenals, it set the stage for the most critical diplomatic milestones that followed. The trust built during the summer of 1963 directly opened the door for the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, in 1968, which sought to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons technology to other nations. Decades later, it paved the way for the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, the complete ban on chemical weapons, and ultimately the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty of 1996, which aimed to eliminate all nuclear explosions entirely.
The legacy of August 5th lives on in every modern disarmament talk and continues to serve as the ultimate historical blueprint for global non-proliferation efforts in times of extreme international tension. The signing of the Partial Test Ban Treaty on August 5, 1963, remains an unforgettable landmark moment in the history of global security. It serves as a powerful reminder that even in our darkest hours of division, when the threat of total destruction feels most absolute, human reason, survival instincts, and diplomacy can still prevail over raw military aggression. As we look around at the modern geopolitical landscape, where old nuclear treaties are fracturing and a new era of technological arms racing is beginning, the lessons of 1963 have never been more critical. It forces us to confront a fundamental question that still defines our future. How do you assess the delicate balance between a nation's pursuit of military supremacy and the collective need for international safety? Can true global security ever be achieved through the accumulation of overwhelming force? Or does long-term survival demand that we rely on international laws, mutual treaties, and shared restraint? We want to hear your perspective on this vital turning point in history. Please share your thoughts, analyses, and insights in the comments section below. If you found this detailed exploration of Cold War diplomacy valuable, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with fellow history enthusiasts, and be sure to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you will join our community for regular, immersive, deep dives into the powerful stories, hidden histories, and monumental decisions that have shaped the world we live in today. Thank you so much for watching. Keep looking back to understand the present, and we will see you in the next chapter of history.